guys, how are you? So we're going with the live play, 2 tables, $7 spins. So we're playing heads up on live table, pretty quick one. In min raise spot we face pretty wet board. So with the third pair, it's totally okay to check. If I would have like 9-10, this is the bottom of my betting range. But with 8, it's totally fine to check. And right now we have two options. We can turn our hand into a bluff or just go to the showdown. I think with 8 we can just go to the showdown. Limping and just limp folding on the right table. Not a big deal. Big blind, players from big blind, they don't isolate too much, so it's totally fine to just limp fold. Checking back, and this is pretty wet board, and I just check. I don't think betting would be a great solution, as opponents are c-betting too much, and whenever they c-bet, we can just go pretty big check raise. Okay, for sure calling with 2 pairs. I would call as well with 10. We shouldn't be afraid of straight. There are plenty of flush draws, some gut shots, and he might just bet a 10 as well. Also, some of 9x's would bet the flop, so we shouldn't be afraid that much. And this is pretty wet board, so always fine to bet with a pretty small sizing of 35. I'm lowering the sizing to let my opponent call wider than usual. I want him to call some king highs, queen highs, maybe ace highs, and whenever if he won't raise me on the flop, I'm sure I'm best. And here it's totally okay to fold, as I don't think 8 would move all in, and we are blocking gut shots and open-enders like 7-9, knight-10, queen-9. So most of his range are totally jack X's. So it's fine to just bet fold. On the left table, I just c-bet bit less than half pot, to let my opponent call his gut shots and overcards. Now on the turn, I think betting half pot is totally fine. Betting less is okay, unless we're gonna put all our chips in the middle on the river. But I think half pot or bit less than half pot is totally fine. 108, this is my number. So this is pretty interesting, as our opponent didn't raise the turn. I don't think he has the 9, and if we bet small, the 9 gonna raise. There are plenty of misdraws. I like betting small to just induce, as the only card that can call our big bet are the 5x's, and probably they won't do it too often. And as there are plenty of missed flush draws, missed straight draws, he can't really call us with wide range. Yeah, he had ace-5, so it was the only card that could possibly call versus bigger sizing, but this is not sure if they would. So I'm totally okay with this sizing. With the pair, I won't fold, never, even if I would have like 9 deuce to the pot size, limp c-bet. Our opponent might just do it with totally random cards. Although against second barrel, I'm totally okay to fold, especially that our opponent wasn't c-betting previously. So when he c-bet and bet again, it's for sure a stronger part of the range. On the right table, small blind quickly isolates with all in. There are some weaker ace-x's in his range, there are some Broadway cards. But I think this is a bottom range. Ace-7 I'm folding, ace-8 I would call. Our opponent was mainly limping, so we should play tighter against his min raise. And as our opponent was folding twice, we can definitely min raise more often. And whenever someone who folds a lot calls and kinda wet board appears, we need to know that our fold equity is even lower, as his range, calling range pre-flop is tighter. So he will have more often some strong cards that are connected, or high cards. Ace-6 on 11 big blinds, just raise calling. Min raising 5-7. And as a standard on right table, just moving all in. Left table as well, and yeah. Ace high board, so just going with standard c-bet of 40. And on ace high boards, our fold equity is pretty big, so if my opponent would call, I'm not going to second barrel, as still I believe random players on big blind could have many ace-x's that they didn't decide to move all in on 25 big blinds, like ace-7, ace-8, ace-9. This is totally possible that they have it in big blind calling range. So we've got open-ender, although the board is pretty weak and our open-ender is a low card. So whenever I have a draw and I don't really want to bet and fold to a raise, I'm okay with checking, as I can realize equity and also I can easily call the probe if my opponent decides to bet. So I am calling and I hit the straight, and if I would bet the flop and he raises, I would never see the river. Pocket fives, it's okay to just move all in. And on the river, as he bets, totally he has an 8 or a 7, so I'm okay with betting with pretty big sizing. 235, 255, I think that's fine. Called as a third player with 6-9, and this is interesting. We've got a top pair with open-ender, so I think this is totally fine to just go for a call. As if our opponent has a top pair with overcard, we are not in the great shape. And as on the flop there are plenty of open-enders, queen 10, king 10s, and so on, I think betting the turn is totally fine. I'm gonna go with 90 sizing. And as if I bet on the river, probably only better cards gonna call me, so checking the river is fine. We don't have much value bets here. Seven, 8 on 7 big blinds, just moving all in. It's worth noticing when someone calls you wide. Like for example here he called me with queen 3. We are not playing with him anymore. But whenever someone calls you pretty wide, like this, you need to stop open shoving some weakest connectors. This is the adjust when you see that someone calls a lot against the shoves. So button c-bets, and his c-bet size is pretty big. It's for sure higher than average. So I'm gonna call, but I will play more tighter on turn if he decides to barrel. Right table, there are plenty of draws and gut shots. I'm okay with betting half pot, or even, yeah, I think half pot is fine. I'm not increasing the sizing, as I don't want my opponent to fold random jack axis and 9 axis. I want him to make a bad move and just go for a flat call. And on the turn, I think betting 85 again is totally okay, or 90, to still keep these these 9 axis or jack axis in calling range. Probably 95 might be a bit too big. Left table, just half pot bet with a second pair, and on the turn I'm gonna bet again, but with a bit smaller sizing, as we have a pair plus draw. And on the right table there are plenty of jack X's that missed, and there are not that many flush draws, so I'm totally okay with calling. And it turned out that our opponent just turned his pair into a bluff. So we have a flush, and on the river I don't think that flushes like queen, jack or 9 gonna fold, so betting with bit higher sizing, 225. Okay, he folded. Not a big deal. Defending king queen, and if he c-bets as a standard, going for a check raise over 3x, as the board has some draws. 135, this is my sizing. And right now I'm just moving all in, as he has only 315 chips left.